Maria Clara always dreamed of becoming a doctor. From a young age, she was fascinated by medicine. Growing up in a small town with inadequate health care, she often saw friends and family suffer due to lack of proper medical care. This fueled her desire to make a difference in people's lives. Determined and intelligent, Clara excelled in school, always achieving top grades and participating in all the science fairs. After finishing high school, Clara began working as a nurse at a local hospital to help with family expenses and gain experience in healthcare. Her love for medicine only grew over time. She studied in her spare time, always seeking to learn more and prepare for medical school entrance exams. The routine was exhausting, but Clara never gave up. Her determination was unwavering, and she knew that one day she would achieve her dream. It was during this period that Clara met João, a charming and ambitious man who seemed to support her dreams from the start. João was initially supportive and encouraging. They married after a brief courtship, and João promised to help Clara achieve her goals. In the beginning, he truly supported her, praising her dedication and encouraging her studies. He seemed like the perfect partner for her. However, as the years passed, João's personality began to change. He became controlling and demeaning, frequently undermining Clara's confidence with sarcastic comments about her ambitions. He resented the time Clara devoted to her studies and work, and started making unreasonable demands, criticizing her for neglecting the house and family. In the early years of their marriage, Clara and João had happy moments. They traveled together, made plans for the future, and even talked about having children once Clara finally achieved her dream of becoming a doctor. Clara believed that despite the difficulties, their love was strong enough to overcome any obstacle. But as the years went by, the conflicts increased. João became increasingly controlling, and Clara felt her dreams were being suffocated. He accused her of being selfish for wanting more than they already had, saying that her career as a nurse was enough and she should be content with that. Clara began to doubt herself and her abilities, and her studies started to suffer. The arguments became frequent, often ending with Clara crying alone, questioning whether her dreams were worth the sacrifice of her marriage. João, on the other hand, seemed more and more convinced that he was right, believing that Clara should give up her ambitions to focus on the family. Even so, Clara never completely abandoned her dreams. She continued studying in her spare time, though less frequently due to João's demands. Her passion for medicine was unquenchable, and she knew in her heart that one day she would find a way to move forward. The deterioration of her relationship with João only served to strengthen her determination to prove him wrong and show that she could be more than he allowed her to be. After 19 years of marriage, Clara and João's relationship was in tatters. João's humiliations became more frequent and cruel, culminating in an incident where he called her fat and stupid and said she would never be a doctor. This was the breaking point for Clara. The pain and humiliation were profound, but they also served as a wake-up call. Clara decided she could no longer live that way. She realized that to achieve her dreams and be happy, she needed to free herself from João's control. She decided to leave her husband and start a new life, away from the humiliations and limitations he imposed. With renewed courage, Clara began to plan her return to her studies and finally become the doctor she always dreamed of being. This decision marked the beginning of a new journey for Clara, a journey of self-discovery, resilience, and determination. She was determined to prove to herself and to João that she was capable of much more than he ever imagined. It was a night Clara would never forget. They were in the living room, Clara reviewing some medical books while João watched TV. The atmosphere was already tense due to an earlier argument about the long hours Clara dedicated to her studies. João looked at her with disdain, turned off the television, and began to speak in a voice full of sarcasm. "Look at you, Clara. Fat and stupid. Do you really think you'll ever be a doctor? Who do you think you are? You're just a common nurse. That's the best you can be. Give up this ridiculous fantasy before you embarrass us even more." João's words were like knives, cutting deep into her self-esteem. He not only criticized her physical appearance, but also directly attacked her most intimate dreams and ambitions. The cruelty in his voice and the look of contempt he gave her were overwhelming. Clara was paralyzed, unable to believe what she was hearing. What led to this moment wasn't a single event, but a series of accumulated frustrations over the years. João, who initially supported Clara's dreams, began to feel threatened by her success and determination. He always had a fragile ego and a constant need to assert his control. As Clara got closer to her goal, João's insecurities grew. Additionally, João was facing difficulties at work. He couldn't get the promotion he desperately wanted and began to take out his frustrations on Clara. He resented the fact that while his career was stagnant, Clara was making significant progress towards her dream of becoming a doctor. These frustrations built up to the point of exploding on that fateful night. Clara, initially paralyzed, felt a wave of emotions overcome her. Tears began to stream down her face as João's cruel words echoed in her mind. She had always known João had a sharp tongue, but she never imagined he could be so cruel and disdainful. The emotional pain was immediate and deep. Each word João uttered seemed to destroy a part of her dream and identity. Clara felt small, insignificant, and questioned all her choices. The sense of humiliation was overwhelming, and she couldn't shake the thought that maybe he was right, that perhaps she really wasn't capable of achieving her dream. Clara stood up slowly, feeling fragile and broken. She looked at João with eyes full of pain, hoping to see some remorse, but found only a cold, calculated gaze. Unable to bear it any longer, she ran to the bedroom, shut the door behind her, and collapsed onto the bed, sobbing. At that moment, Clara felt completely alone and lost. The public humiliation in her own home, by the man she loved, was the last straw. She knew something had to change, but at that instant, all she could do was cry and feel the depth of her pain. The humiliation that night radically changed the dynamics between Clara and João. The atmosphere at home, already tense, became unbearable. Clara began to avoid João, doing her best to minimize interactions with him. When she wasn't working, she locked herself in her room or took refuge in the kitchen, immersing herself in her studies to distract from the emotional pain. João, on the other hand, seemed indifferent to Clara's suffering. He continued with his routine as if nothing had happened, and his sarcastic comments became more frequent. He made a point of reminding Clara of his cruel words whenever he had the chance, reaffirming his disdain for her aspirations. Clara felt increasingly isolated and alone, as if the person who once promised to support her had now become her greatest enemy. Clara's loneliness was palpable. She started distancing herself from friends and family, ashamed to share her pain and afraid they would notice the state of her marriage. Nights were the hardest. Lying in bed, she could hear João snoring beside her, feeling more isolated than ever. The emotional connection they once had disappeared, replaced by a chasm of resentment and sadness. Clara spent hours reflecting on her life and choices. João's words echoed in her mind, feeding her insecurities. She wondered if he was right, if she really was incapable of achieving her dreams. This doubt gnawed at her self-esteem, making her increasingly insecure and hesitant. But at the same time, there was a flame of determination that Clara couldn't extinguish. She thought about all the patients she had helped as a nurse and how much she wanted to do more, learn more, and be more. Each moment of doubt was followed by a reminder of her passion for medicine and her desire to make a difference. Clara also began to notice João's behavior patterns. His humiliations weren't about her, but about his own insecurities and failures. He was projecting his frustrations onto her, trying to keep her small so he wouldn't feel so insignificant. This insight began to strengthen Clara, helping her separate the truth from João's venomous words. It was on a particularly lonely night, after another public humiliation during a dinner with friends, that Clara made her decision. Sitting alone on the porch, looking at the stars, she realized she could no longer live that way. Her life, her dreams, her dignity, everything was being destroyed by João's toxicity. Clara decided she deserved more, that she was capable of more. She stood up from the chair with a newfound determination and began planning her exit. She spent the next few weeks saving money, organizing her documents, and reapplying for medical school entrance exams. Each step towards her independence made her feel stronger and more confident. Finally, on a sunny morning, Clara confronted João. "I can't live like this anymore, João. I'm leaving. I'm going after my dreams, and you won't stop me." Joao laughed, but Clara didn't waver. She packed her things, took her savings, and walked out the door without looking back. The first step was finding a place to stay. A longtime friend, Anna, offered her a room until she could get settled. Clara accepted with gratitude, feeling welcomed and supported for the first time in a long time. With Anna's support, she began to rebuild her life. Clara devoted herself intensely to her studies, using every spare minute to review and prepare for the entrance exams. She worked during the day as a nurse and studied at night, determined to overcome all challenges. With each passing day, she felt closer to her goal and further from Joao's cruel words. Clara's decision wasn't easy, but it was necessary. She knew that to be happy and achieve her dreams, she needed to break free from the chains Joao had placed on her. Her journey was just beginning, but she already felt victorious for taking the first step towards freedom and success. Leaving Joao, Clara felt a mix of relief and fear. Now alone, she would have to face significant financial and emotional challenges. She moved into a small, modest apartment that represented her new independence. Finances were tight, and she had to manage every penny carefully. To cover her expenses, she continued working as a nurse during the day. The first few months were tough. Clara felt the pressure of balancing her responsibilities at work with the intense studies for the entrance exams. At work, she faced long shifts at the hospital, caring for patients with various needs. Each day was a test of her physical and emotional endurance. At night, exhausted, she sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by books and notes, studying late into the night. Emotionally, Clara struggled with loneliness and the sense of inadequacy that Joao had planted in her. His words still echoed in her mind, but with each passing day, she became more determined to prove him wrong. The exhausting routine was a constant battle, but Clara knew she was on the right path. Clara knew that to achieve her dream of becoming a doctor, she needed to pass the medical school entrance exams. She enrolled in a night prep course to improve her chances. Her days were long and tiring, starting at the hospital and ending late in the classroom. She put in maximum effort, paying attention to every detail of the lessons, asking questions, and participating in study groups. There were moments of doubt and extreme fatigue. Clara often questioned whether she could withstand the pressure for much longer. Some nights, she fell asleep over her books, exhausted, but soon got up and continued. She knew that each hour of study brought her closer to her goal. The mock exams and tests in the prep course were challenging. Clara excelled in some subjects, but struggled in others. In moments of despair, she thought about giving up, but her passion for medicine and the desire to prove to herself and Joao that she was capable kept her going. Finally, the day of the entrance exam arrived, and Clara was ready. She walked into the exam room with a mix of nervousness and determination. The days following the exam were filled with anxious waiting, but when the results came out, it was a moment of pure joy. Clara had been accepted into one of the best medical schools in the country. Her relentless effort had paid off. In medical school, Clara found a new support network. Her classmates became important friends and allies. Among them was Lucas, a brilliant student who quickly became one of her biggest supporters. Lucas admired Clara's determination and dedication and was always willing to help her with difficult subjects or simply offer a shoulder to lean on during tough times. Clara also found mentors among her professors. Dr. Helena, a renowned surgeon, took Clara under her wing. Dr. Helena saw immense potential in Clara and committed to guiding her through medical school. With patience and wisdom, she offered advice, shared experiences, and inspired Clara to keep going, even when the challenges seemed insurmountable. Additionally, Clara maintained a close bond with Anna, her longtime friend. Anna was always by her side, providing emotional support and helping her balance her studies and personal life. Conversations with Anna were a refuge where Clara could express her frustrations and celebrate her victories. One memorable story was of an elderly patient Clara cared for at the hospital. Dona Marilia, who suffered from a chronic illness, was a wise and kind woman. She often shared her life stories with Clara, encouraging her never to give up on her dreams. "You have a good heart and a sharp mind, Clara. Never let anyone tell you that you can't achieve what you desire." These new figures in her life not only provided the necessary support for Clara to move forward, but also helped restore her confidence and self-esteem. Each interaction, every word of encouragement, and every supportive gesture was essential for Clara's growth and development. She began to see herself not just as a survivor, but as a winner on her journey to becoming a doctor. Clara began her journey in medical school with unwavering determination and work ethic. From the very first day, she stood out for her dedication and passion. She spent hours in the library, studying every detail of anatomy, physiology, and pharmacology books. It didn't take long for her professors and peers to notice her exceptional commitment. By the end of her first year, Clara was recognized as the top student in anatomy, receiving an award that highlighted her academic excellence. This recognition not only boosted her self-esteem, but also fueled her desire to continue excelling. Clara didn't stop there. In her second year, she excelled in pharmacology and cell biology, again receiving praise and awards for her exemplary performance. As Clara progressed in her studies, she also began to develop impressive clinical skills. During her internships, she demonstrated a natural ability to diagnose and treat patients, combining theoretical knowledge with genuine empathy and care. One memorable anecdote was during her internship in the pediatric ward. A 10-year-old boy named Pedro was admitted with a severe respiratory condition. Clara dedicated herself to his case, meticulously studying Pedro's medical history and collaborating with other doctors to formulate an effective treatment plan. Thanks to her tireless effort and careful approach, Pedro fully recovered. The gratitude in Pedro's parents' eyes was one of the most rewarding moments of Clara's career thus far. Another situation that highlighted Clara's skills was during an emergency surgery. The chief surgeon, impressed by her calmness under pressure and technical abilities, allowed Clara to take on a crucial part of the procedure. The surgery was a success, and Clara received praise not only from the chief surgeon, but also from the entire medical team. Every small achievement along the way reinforced Clara's determination. From making a difficult diagnosis to succeeding in minor procedures, each victory was a step towards her ultimate goal. Clara's confidence grew with each challenge she overcame, and she became an inspiration to her peers who frequently sought her advice and support. Finally, graduation day arrived. Clara donned her graduation gown with a mix of pride and emotion. The ceremony was held in a large auditorium, filled with family, friends, and professors. Clara was surrounded by her classmates, all beaming with happiness and accomplishment. When her name was called, Clara walked up to the stage with firm steps, her heart pounding. She received her diploma from the dean, who congratulated her on her exceptional achievements. Looking out into the audience, Clara saw Anna, Lucas, Dr. Helena, and many others who had supported her along the way. She also noticed some familiar faces of patients who had come to see her graduate. As words of gratitude and encouragement echoed through the auditorium, Clara felt a wave of emotion. Everything she had fought for, all the challenges she had overcome, culminated in that moment. She held her diploma tightly, feeling the weight of her accomplishments and the promise of a bright future. The graduation ceremony was not just the realization of a dream, but also a celebration of the resilience, determination, and support that had brought her there. Clara looked at her grandfather's pocket watch, now a symbol of her rebirth and second chance. Tears of joy ran down her face as she reflected on her journey and prepared for the next chapter of her life as a doctor. Clara, now a respected and renowned doctor, was in her office reviewing patient charts when a nurse knocked on the door. "Dr. Clara, we have a critical patient who just arrived in the emergency room. We need you to see him immediately." Clara nodded, grabbed her coat, and followed the nurse to the emergency room. Upon entering, the nurse handed her the patient's chart. Her eyes quickly scanned the information until the name stopped her cold. João Silva. A shock ran through her body like a bolt of lightning. It was her ex-husband. For a moment, Clara was paralyzed, memories of humiliation and pain flooding her mind. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside. She knew she needed to be professional, but it was hard to ignore their shared history. Clara approached the gurney where João lay unconscious and pale. He was in a critical condition, with serious injuries from a car accident. Clara felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, compassion, and a strange sense of poetic justice. He's here, under my care, she thought, and now it depends on me. Hours later, João began to regain consciousness. His eyes opened slowly, and as he focused on the figure in front of him, he saw Clara in her white coat, with a stethoscope around her neck. Surprise and confusion gave way to realization. "Clara? You're a doctor?" Clara looked at him, keeping her voice calm and professional. "Yes, João. I am Dr. Clara now, and you're in the hospital under my care." João was silent for a moment, shame and regret visible on his face. I didn't know you made it. I always thought." "Clara, I was an idiot." As the days passed and Clara continued to care for João, he began to reflect on his past and his actions. With each treatment and each visit, he saw Clara's competence and dedication, feeling the weight of his past words and actions. One day, while Clara was checking his vital signs, João decided to speak. "Clara, I know you have no reason to forgive me, but I need to say this. I was wrong about you, about everything. I let my insecurities and failures get in the way, and I ended up hurting you. I never should have said those things. You were always capable, always brilliant." Clara paused for a moment, her conflicting emotions on the surface. She looked at João, seeing a broken and remorseful man. "João, your words hurt me deeply, but they also gave me the strength to prove you wrong. And while I'll never forget what you said, I won't let it stop me from being the professional I've become." João lowered his head, tears streaming down his face. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm so sorry, Clara. Very sorry." Clara sighed, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. "I accept your apology, João, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I will continue to take care of you as I would any other patient. My duty is to save lives and help people heal, no matter who they are." With that, Clara continued her work, treating João with the same care and professionalism she dedicated to all her patients. João's healing process was long, and each day under Clara's care was a reminder of how much she had overcome. As João recovered, he watched Clara interact with other patients, colleagues, and nurses. He saw the respect and admiration everyone had for her and the passion she had for what she did. This only increased his shame and regret, but also his respect for Clara. On one of his last days in the hospital, João spoke again. "Clara, you are an incredible woman. I'm sorry for everything. I hope that one day you find the happiness you deserve, far beyond what I could ever offer." Clara smiled, a smile of peace and realization. "I already have, João, and part of that was learning to leave the past behind. Take care." This final encounter was not just a resolution for João, but also a validation for Clara that she had chosen the right path. From that moment on, she pursued her career with even more determination, knowing she had turned her pain into strength and success, helping those who needed it most, including those who had hurt her. From the moment Clara recognized João's name on the chart, she knew she would have to face this challenge with the highest level of professionalism. Initially, seeing João on the gurney, vulnerable and injured, stirred complex feelings, but Clara quickly gathered her inner strength. During the treatment, Clara maintained impeccable professionalism. She ensured that João received the best possible care, diligently monitoring his vital signs and adjusting his treatment as needed. Each visit to João's room was an exercise in self-control and compassion. Clara treated João with the same empathy and dedication she offered to all her patients. She administered his medications, calmly discussed his progress, and explained each step of the recovery process. Her ethical and careful approach impressed not only João but also her colleagues, who saw in her a model of professionalism. In a particularly touching moment, João asked Clara why she was being so kind to him despite everything. Clara responded serenely, "My duty as a doctor is to care for my patients, no matter who they are. Medicine is about healing and compassion, and I take that very seriously." This commitment to her profession not only helped João recover physically, but also made him reflect deeply on his own failings and the greatness of Clara's character. Clara became an inspiration not only to her patients, but also to her colleagues and medical students. Her story of resilience, determination, and overcoming adversity was often shared in lectures and seminars. At a special event for medical students, Clara was invited to speak about her journey. In a packed auditorium, she stepped onto the stage with confidence and gratitude. "Today, I want to share something very personal with you," she began. "My journey to becoming a doctor was full of challenges and moments of doubt, but each obstacle made me stronger." She spoke about her struggle against humiliation, her lonely path after leaving Joao, and the endless nights of studying. "There were times when I thought about giving up," she admitted, "but my passion for medicine and my desire to help others kept me going." Clara looked at the audience, seeing young faces full of aspirations and dreams. Never let anyone tell you that you can't. Your dreams are valuable and deserve to be pursued with all your heart. There will be obstacles, people who will try to bring you down, but believe in yourself and keep moving forward. She concluded with a message of encouragement. "If I, who faced so many personal and professional challenges, could achieve my dreams, so can you." The key is to never give up, no matter how difficult the path may seem. Use every difficulty as a stepping stone to greatness. Applause filled the auditorium, and Clara left the stage with a sense of accomplishment and purpose. She knew she had planted seeds of inspiration in many young hearts, helping them believe that, regardless of the obstacles, their dreams were possible. This final message from Clara encapsulated the essence of her journey: the importance of believing in oneself, the strength of resilience, and the power of never giving up. Her life and career were a living testament that, with determination and courage, anything is possible. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support is essential to us. And now, an exciting new story is coming up on your screen.